Johann Lamont.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. To ask the First Minister what engagements he has planned for the rest of the day.
First Minister.
Today, Bruce Crawford, the Cabinet Secretary for Parliamentary Business and Government Strategy, is meeting the Norwegian Prime Minister Jens Stoltenberg to welcome him to Shetland on Norway's National Day and to discuss plans for a deep-water key decommissioning facility in the Shetland Islands. I am delighted to announce to the Chamber that following discussions I had in Oslo on Tuesday, the Scottish Government and HIE together will make available £10 million to support a hugely ambitious project for the Northern Islands. And I know the whole Chamber will wish to welcome this exciting partnership between the Norwegian company AF Group and Lerwick Port Authority, which looks forward to secure decommissioning work in major offshore structures from the North Sea. The project could create up to 150 jobs in the Shetland Islands and in Aberdeen and deliver a scale of industrial capacity unmatched across these islands.
Johann Lamont.
Presiding Officer, this week the Parliament debated the National Parenting Strategy and there was unanimous agreement that there had to be more support for parents who were struggling. We think this is important because we know some parents don't get it right, that the child is not always a priority, and this can have tragic consequences. Indeed, following the Declan Haney case, the First Minister and I had constructive talks about the issue of child protection. Can the First Minister update the Chamber on what progress has been made in this area?
First Minister.
Well, I do agree that we had constructive talks on that tragic case. And as we discussed in that meeting, the Government will be moving forward through the Children and Young People's Bill to be introduced, and we will explore options in a range of areas to improve the situation so that we can get it right for every child.
Johann Lamont.
And we welcome progress, and we do urge the First Minister to recognise just how serious it is and how quickly we need to move on this issue. For we now know that in March 2010, just 2 weeks before Declan Haney was found dead, Renfrewshire Council received a report from another case review, a case known as Family 10, which worryingly highlighted systemic failures in child protection. In this case, children were mistreated to a deeply distressing degree. The Family 10 review was too late to save Declan. Yet, 2 serious case reviews in Renfrewshire found systemic failure, and still no one has been held to account. Does the First Minister believe, after 1 death and 2 findings of systemic failure, Renfrewshire Council was best placed to investigate itself?
First Minister.
I think Johann Lamont should accept that the reviews that have taken place have identified certainly failings in terms of provision. These reviews, as other investigations in the past, inform our intent to improve and enhance child protection across Scotland. These are vital matters. I'm certain that if we show goodwill on all sides, we can take these forward together as a united Parliament. We have both a legislative framework and a forum for making sure that we improve our current, not just our inspection services, but our monitoring services. And I think on that basis, this Parliament will do itself great credit to take things forward in that manner on behalf of Scotland's children.
Johann Lamont.
But I do say to the First Minister, hoping for it doesn't make it happen. And there is a really serious issue here. Because here's the real point. In 2009, the First Minister told this Chamber that we had the best child protection inspection system, quote, anywhere on these islands, perhaps anywhere in Europe. Indeed, before the case of Family 10, before the death of Declan Haney, he said in this Chamber that his inspection system had found Renfrewshire Council to be one of the top 5 councils in Scotland. A few months after Declan Haney was found dead, the inspectors went back to Renfrewshire Council to follow up on that first visit. This time, they concluded that Renfrewshire Council's efforts to keep children safe were excellent. They reported, as a result of the very good quality of provision to protect children and meet their needs, we will make no further visits in connection with this inspection. The case of Family 10, systemic failures. The death of Declan Haney, fatal systemic failures. Yet before and after these terrible failures, his inspectors provided 2 positive reports, the second claiming the protection of children is excellent. In the light of the contrast between the First Minister's rhetoric about child protection and the reality, does he still believe his inspection regime is the best in Europe?
First Minister.
I think 3 times in that question, Johann Lamont referred to my inspection regime and my inspectors. These are people who take forward vital work on behalf of this Parliament and this country. There is no doubt that the process of inspection and re-inspection has resulted in an improved situation in child protection across Scotland. There is also no doubt that that systematic process, which I believed was supported across this chamber, has resulted in substantial improvements. It's also the case, as Johann Lamont must know, that no place in the world can ever provide a 100% guarantee for the safety of all children. I'm quoting exactly from Tam Bailey, the Scottish Commissioner for Children and Young People, in January of this year. But there are always, and should be, from these tragic cases, lessons to learn. This government, this administration, and I hope this Parliament, is perfectly prepared and capable of learning them. And if we act together, not just in legislative terms, but in administrative terms as well, then we can further improve the situation for Scotland's children and further improve the protection. But can't we just do it on the basis that this is something that all politicians of whatever political persuasion wish to do, and as a national Parliament we can take national action on child protection?
Johann Lamont.
It is true that the people doing the inspections are doing an important job, but they are accountable, and the First Minister is responsible for the capacity of that system to deliver. The First Minister needs to explain. His approach seems to be a counsel of despair. Yes, we can't give 100% protection, but we must do everything we can to understand where the failures are in order to make sure it doesn't happen again. So can he explain why the best child inspection service in Europe fails to find the systemic failures which led to maltreatment of a family of children and which led to a baby's death? Can he explain why his best inspection service in Europe, after these tragedies caused by systemic failures, still says that service is excellent? An inspection that was getting carried out at exactly the same point when the significant case review in Declan Haney was saying there was at least 16 points for action need to be taken. The two things were happening at the same time. And in light of these failures, will the First Minister please order a full, independent public inquiry into child protection, not just in Renfrewshire, but across Scotland, so the public can have confidence that our systems are protecting our most vulnerable children?
First Minister. First Minister.
Let's see if we can identify areas of agreement. Child protection measures require constant vigilance. Therefore, this Parliament should support our partners across Scotland on the ground to make sure there's continual improvement. That's why we've updated the practice guidance and getting our priorities right for professionals working with children where substance misuse, for example, is a factor. We're piloting the risk assessment toolkit, which will help the protection of vulnerable children across Scotland. The development of the multi-agency learning and development framework is of crucial importance because in a number of tragic cases it has been clear that the contact between the variety of agencies who are charged with responsibility is not as good as it could be. The revision of the instruction, the Pink Book, the Child Protection Guidance for Scottish health professionals is moving forward, and we're introducing the Children's Services Bill. The bill will ensure that all children's services have a stronger focus on early years prevention and early intervention. These are the actions of administration, but I hope as a Parliament who are not in the slightest complacent about the tragedies that have occurred, but who know two things. Firstly, that the responsibility for wrongdoing and for the most tragic cases does, at the end of the day, lie with the perpetrator. The idea that individual social workers are perhaps accountable and responsible, of course they're accountable, but responsible for the actions of others, I don't think is the way that Scotland should look at these matters. We should support our social workers, our social work departments, to give the best possible protection for Scotland's children. And the second thing, which I hope can carry this entire Parliament, is these actions which I've identified, both the administrative and the legislative, don't show any sign of complacency on this issue, but understand and have the requirement that constant vigilance and continuous improvement is absolutely necessary. And as we bring forward these measures, as a government, as a parliament, I do hope that all sides of this chamber will rise to the occasion on behalf of Scotland's children.